Yes, yes. Welcome to another episode of Footprints by Operator Radio. My name is Frederik Teixeira, but everybody calls me Frey, and I will be moderating this evening. Footprints is an ongoing web show where we do a deep dive into music production. We talk a bit about the workflow of a producer, technical assets or equipment, mixing, arrangement, plugins, etc. We have a live audience right now in Warm, Rotterdam. Gi- Shout out. Shout out to the audience. Thank you. Yeah, and next to me is sitting the man of the hour, the talented Mr. Ranie Ribeiro, making music since he was 17 years old. He told me a story about how he started with Fruity Loops, and now he has a lot of tracks on his sleeve. You have tracks on United Identities, Noos Klaar, Supersonic Jazz, and also Deckmantel. So it's quite a catalog. So yeah, uh, great to have you. Shout out to Ronnie, ladies and gentlemen. So could you tell something about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ranie Ribeiro Fortes. I'm a DJ, producer, and also musician. And like I said, I've been making music since I was 17 years old, so it's about 14 years now. Yeah, quite a long time. Yeah, and yeah, that's me. That's me actually. Yeah,
In a nutshell.
in a nutshell, exactly.
Okay, nice. And how would you describe yourself as a musician? What type of music do you love making?
Um, what I love making is music with a lot of percussions. Um, Also like dreamscapes or like soundscapes that sound really dreamy, yeah, and a lot of hip hop influenced jazz stuff as well. Um, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, the sounds that I usually go for. Like
Is it also music that you love to listen to, or do
yeah,
you?
yeah, definitely. I listen to a lot like different kind of stuff at home, and yeah, I get inspired by every kind of music. So it depends if it's like from Brazil, classical, hip hop, jazz, house, techno, like you name it. Yeah.
Nice. And what was your reason to start making music at 17 years old?
The reason, yeah. So I started out as a DJ first, and I was usually playing at school parties and things you do as a teenager. Um, and a friend of mine said to me like, "Hey, you should also produce next to that because that was the thing to do at the time. Like you DJ and you produce, that was the thing." And I figured like, okay, well, I might try it, give it a shot and see what happens. And so I got myself Fruity Loops, played around with it a little bit, and mystery like that was the start of it. And that's for like, oh, I really like doing this. Um, So I kept on doing that actually since.
And how was it like DJing, playing in clubs, I think, and also producing at the same time? Did you? How was that development for you as a person?
Um, well, as a DJ, I really wanted to make a song or make songs that I could also play, but it was very frustrating to me because I couldn't finish anything because I didn't have the experience to finish the songs that actually wanted to play. So as a DJ, I developed quite quickly. Practice almost every day, and um, I got quite quickly a lot of gigs as well. So that went on like pretty fast, but the producing part was like still, it was still lacking from that point. And it was, but I still had fun doing it. But I really wanted to make my own song that I could play, and but that took for like about a year or so before I actually had a song that I was satisfied at a. Yeah.
And then you played your song for the first time in the club after 1 year.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, something, and sounded terrible, of course, but uh, but yeah, I was happy at the time. Yeah.
Nice. So um, you're also DJing still
I'm
to this
still
moment.
DJing as well. Different than back then, of course, but um, when I started out, like I said, I was playing at school parties and a lot of community events as well. Um, and and now it's more like I'm more selective of what I do because I have a more broad style actually what I play. Um, so yeah, I'm more selective for the.
Because that's how I know you. Because you had a different DJ alias, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
It was D Ribeiro.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I know you because I already looked you up, and I had a lot of electronic sounds and really a mix between my personal love of hip hop and also house music.
Yeah.
Um, but if you look your tracks up right now, it has a it's still the same influence, but I wouldn't say
Mm.
deeper, but it's like more of a range of different
Yeah.
aspects and genres of sounds. How was that for you? How did you develop into that type of music? From
Um, well, it's gone all naturally actually because, like I said, when I started out, I really wanted to make like deep house, that kind of music, and um, it all grown into what it is now because of my music taste that I've developed working at Clone Records, and a lot of my colleagues listen to all different kind of music, and I figured like, oh man, would it be cool if I could make that as well? So I challenged myself with that, and I noticed that at a certain point I became quite good at making house music or like that sample-based hip hop house tracks, and I figured like, okay, this is cool, but I also want to make music that I can just listen to, sit back and listen to and relax to it. Um, but I didn't have that at that time, so I figured like, okay, maybe I try something else, learn how to sample, study more music theory, and see if I can make something with the knowledge that I have now into something else.
dope, because I think most of you noticed of the audience, but we also have a really big harp
Yeah,
standing next to us. So how did you came up with starting something like
yeah.
playing the harp?
So about I would say 5 years ago, I was at home and I was listening to Dorothy Ashby and Alice Coltrane records. Um, and this was actually the first time I really paid attention to like the instrument, because usually when you hear the harp, it's usually in a movie, like more in the background. So it's not, it gets has a lot of
It's more
attention
on the for on the background.
on the
Yeah.
background. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I listened to Alice Coltrane and Dorothy Ashby, and I really listened to it, and I was like, this is actually quite a nice instrument. Like sound-wise, it sounds really good. Um, s- then I don't know, it's like an idea popped up, like, what if I started playing that as well? And at first it was like, nah, it's like still expensive, it's too big. Like, what am I going to do with it? But the idea just kept coming back to me. Like 2, 3 weeks later, I still had the same idea. Like, okay,
It kept on
yeah,
nagging. Like
yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe I should like do some research, like try it out, maybe like see how that goes, because I'd never seen a harp in my life before that. For this, like, so I didn't have no any clue on where I could find one. Luckily, there was a store right in Rotterdam at Hofplein. It's called Kamak, and they sell harps. You can rent a harp, and they also teach classes. Yeah, so I figured like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna take like a free class of like takes 20 minutes. I'm just gonna walk in there, ask for or request a free class, and then see how that goes. And if I don't like it, then I know for sure that yeah, like. So I took up the class, and I sat there, and like it was the first time like touching a harp, and yeah, and I was like, yeah, this is it. Yeah, yeah. I came home and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I definitely want to play this instrument.
Love at first sight.
Yeah,
Or feel.
definitely. Yeah. So I figured out like, okay, how can I get one for myself? And like I said, Kamak also rents out harp. So I rented my. This was actually the first harp that I rented, and then later on I bought it for like really bought it for myself. So
Nice.
yeah, that's how it all went actually. And since then it's like I love playing it.
And incorporated it in your own tracks, even.
Yeah, that came later actually because the reason actually like the reason why I really wanted to play that is because I wanted to express myself further, like beyond just the laptop. You know, I felt like there was something lacking, but did not. I wasn't quite sure like if there was anything. Um, or I should have put this. If there was anything that could like fill that space up. Um, so it came on naturally, and then later on, it's like, yes, like I have something that I can like practice and express myself with it, like without the need of implementing in my songs or like trying to record it. It's just I just want to practice and play. That's all.
Dope.
Yeah.
Really dope. Okay, thanks. You even got some tracks for us
Yeah.
to listen to, and then we're gonna do a deep dive into them.
Yeah. So let's see. So the first song that I have is it's called Lights Out. And it's the first song that I collaborated with a bass player, and his name is Damien Roussos, and he plays bass at with the band Greyhead. Just check him out. So here we go. So, mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
give it up,
Thank
give
you,
it up. Nice, really nice track.
thank you.
Dope to hear. The first thing that came to my mind was, yeah, the bass.
Yeah, the bass is like
Really dope.
yeah, he's really good as well. Like Damien, you really came through on this track, and yeah, and that was also like a thing I would like to tell all is like how important collaborations are. You know, as a producer, I'm mostly by myself, like making music by myself, and having someone with you that could play a certain part gives you a different perspective on your song is so much very valuable for your not like for your own experience as well. Yeah. So
Because how did you came up with the concept of the track?
Um, if I remember correctly, because I made this song about 2 years ago, and I just we can go right into it. I let's see. So to start off with, I had these chords. Like real simple chords which I played. These are road sounds, if I remember correctly. And then I began with the drums. So I just had a loop going on. So for by the way, this is like the unedited version. So the version which I released was like a shortened version, and this is like the full length of it. So it's a little bit different than the one you just heard. So this is the beginning of it. Um, so yeah, this was like the base of the songs. Like I had this going on, really simple, and then I added some percussion. Okay, right here, and some extra layers to give the chord some extra texture. So for this part right here, yeah. So these all recorded with. I don't remember where the sounds are coming from, to be honest, but I work mostly with audio files. So I record something, um, I play with MIDI, and then I convert it to an audio file. So it's easier, saves up the RAM.
Because to take a step back, you also made brought some equipment with you. So we have
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dave Smith, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
this is the Mofo. It's a great name. It's a it's a monophonic synthesizer, which I mainly use for bass lines. So, for example, you can get like these fast sounds. Sounds real full and warm. And it's like it has everything that you need. So, and this can also be used for as a MIDI controller, but that's what I have at home. I have a piano at home, so I use that in combination with MIDI controller, and this is just the synthesizer. Yeah, so this is, but this is what I mainly use for effects and bass lines. Yeah,
And you played the previous piano then part, the Rhodes,
yeah.
via how do you say?
Uh, I,
Uh, yeah,
I play that at home with my MIDI keyboard. So yeah, so really, but like I said, it's really simple because sometimes when I start off with like complex chords, then I get lost a little bit into the complexity, and I can't finish it anymore. So
lost in the sauce.
yeah, exactly. So I like to start simple, and then build from there. Yeah. So yeah, I had the bass going on. Let's see, the percussion, and then it's basically Damien coming in, and then I had the effects. Um, let me. I'll break it down per channel. Maybe it's a little bit easier like that. Let's flip this so it isn't. So yeah, so first we have the kicks. Pretty punchy. I can show you how I made this kick. Maybe like make it a little bit fun. Um, so I have my own kits, drum kits. It's very important actually to have your own drum kits, or if you use drum computers, it's fine. But something you can always work with and like fall back on. And so over the years, I've built my own kits and like found samples which I could use for my own songs. So so for example, I remember making this kick uh, like this. So I had this going on, and then I used the saturator from Ableton itself because Ableton has a lot of great stock plugins and effects, which I highly recommend using it as well. So I use the saturate on the kick, punched up to 4 decibels, so you get like a little distortion going on. And then, so for example, if I would record this, let's see where we are. And then I insert another audio track, re-record it. Oh, wait 1 sec. Yeah. So extern this one right here and re-record it. So now I have the punch of the first one, and then I deleted that one, and then I create a whole pattern from that. So that's how I made the kickback back then. So that's what you see or hearing right here. So
And you had your template ready, like with your effects and saturation, what you wanted to do on the kick, or did you?
no, I actually don't use or work with templates. Like I said, I have my kits ready, and then a bunch of samples that I have ready, and then I record everything from the go, actually from start. Yeah, because I mean, it's of course it's easier to use a template, but I like to challenge myself with doing new things every time instead of like falling back on the same thing. Let's see. So then here's a lot of things going on. This might be fun. Yeah. So the hi-hat has a lot of interesting thing going on. Um, yeah, I'll break down every one of them. Let me turn it off. This is how it would sound without reverb and the compression, which sounds pretty dry. And I recorded this hi-hat at home. Um, I just looped it, and then let's see. Yeah, so I just looped it. I then sidechained the pattern to the kicks. That's something you're gonna see in a lot of my productions. I sidechain everything, like crazy. Usually try to find the middle ground for it, but this is what I basically do for almost every channel. Um, then I go ahead to the multi-band dynamics to give it a little bit more high end. And this might be also interesting to point out. This compressor right here, but we'll get to that in a minute. So it sounds still a little bit dry, and then I add a reverb to it and an equalizer, which is yeah, usually looks like this. Um, and then what I then did is the compressor, which most engineers will hate me for doing this, but I pulled the threshold all the way down. So what you then get is like, like a really full reverb sound. And then and I put this over on a whole group, so everything will sound a little bit more punch to it.
A bit crunchier, even.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
like for example, if I turn it off and get kicks with it, so it will still sounds a little bit dry. So I just added this, so you get that extra groove going on. You see, just like the differences, and of course, I could like also say like, well, maybe you just, you know, but it's different. If I just do the volume thing, I just like doing compression. So that was those two are like the first, like the basic of the songs, and then the percussion, which I also recorded at home. Let's see, this is called also a thing. This is called a ching ring. It's just like a real small tambourine kind of instrument, which you usually place on snares or the hi-hats. But I actually like the sound of it, so I just use it as like a tambourine, and that's what you hear me playing right now. Um, Also with like a little bit multi-band dynamics. Let's see.
I have to ask this. What is a multi-band dynamics?
Oh,
What
you're
is it?
gonna ask that question right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not for me, it's for the audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what it does is actually like it punches or lowers out like certain frequencies or like desired frequencies um, instead of like the whole spectrum of it. So that's like the that's like the basic explanation I can give. um, but that's also something I use a lot for because it all comes down like to mixing. Like actually, as I just showed with the hi-hat, it's like you could use like the exact same samples, but if you do not know how to mix, then like it's not going anywhere. And that's what I've learned over the years. Like it really depends on how it all sounds, like on how each sounds actually sound. You know, and that's something I really learned, during these years. Um, so yeah, I have the what's this? Yeah, then the shaker I also played at home. The compressor is doing absolutely nothing, so I'm deleting that. Just having that. And what's this again? Oh yeah, so this is these are my keys. I'm just recording the keys, like around Yeah, yeah, like my home keys. I remember that now. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. And then another part, percussion. These are samples that I found. Yeah, like real low quality drum sounds, and I thought it had its charms because also you could clearly tell that it's fake, but if you add it up like into the complete production, it still like sound as if it gives it an extra swing to it. Yeah, that's how I put it. Yeah. Um, then I'll go to the effects. Let's see. So right now I like to also add like a lot of textures to my sounds. So for example, you hear like lasers going left, forth, and you hear flexitones, which is like a bell, which you can change pitch to it. And I like to add like these certain things to give like a little bit more details to the song. And then yeah, you see, and then I mix it all together. Uh, so if I like, so I'll, if, and I like working on these like small details because then it gives you a real like an idea of where you are at that point. So that's and then the most important part of the song actually, the bass. I can tell you how I made this. Let's see how I'm going about this. So what I did, I actually met Damien because I was doing a remix for his band, right? And I asked him directly, like, "Hey, could you play like an extra part for the remix, like an extra bass part, and then which then you can use." So he recorded an extra part, and but it was like a solo, and it didn't have like a certain point where it all came back as like a melody. So what I did was I chopped it all up. I chopped it all up, and then as you can see here, chopped it all up until it became like a melody.
So you chopped. He made a melody, and you chopped it up and made it
Now
a different melody.
he played
Okay.
the solo, and usually when a musician plays a solo, it's hard to get like certain things out or like um, even to use it for a whole different song. So, but I think like, okay, what if I just um, chopped it up and use certain parts and then make a loop out of it, see if that's possible. And it was, and so uh, I just played around a little bit, see where if there was a loop that I could find, and yeah, so this is what came out with it.
I presume you used the splice version of Ableton then, or
No,
did you just chop it up in the arrangement view?
no, this is something I can show you real quick. Let me grab a random audio song. A few years ago, when I like started learning how to make, I had an MPC, and but I didn't quite know how to, or I wanted to use that on Ableton as well, but I didn't know how to use the auto chop function on the MPC also on in Ableton. So what I did was there were some tutorials on YouTube where you could create your own chop functions as an MPC. So what I did was I created that. So for example, if I click here, slice to a new MIDI track, and I have a preset called MPC chops, which is something I created for myself, and then it chops it up with certain mark points, and then I can create my own loops or yeah, it's basically a sampler which I create. So whenever you can hear it here too. Like whenever I play a sample, and I play the next one right after it, it chops it off. So so it doesn't play it all the way through, just like an on MPC. So this is and nowadays you can Ableton has its own built-in slice function, but this is something I built back then, and I'm still using it to this day. So, and sometimes I be playing something like a bass line part for myself, and I resample that like just like that as well. So it will sound a little bit more naturally. Yeah. So this is how I end up arranging the bass line. Um, yeah. So you can see how the chops are going on here. Slice this, that, that.
And do you use quantize?
Yeah, sometimes it depends. I do not use quantize on drums because I wanted to have that loose feel. But with, in this case, I did quantize it because I wanted to make sure that everything um, is on point. So I can, and I can still basically do anything here. I can change the pitch or the end point of it, give more details to it, and so yeah, I can have pretty much a lot of freedom actually here. And what I did then was sidechain it, another multi-band compression, and a little bit of EQing. Because as you can see, there's a lot of low end going on, which you don't want to have in your setup. Like for you want to have your mix as clean as possible, and like everything below like 20 hertz, you just want to get rid of it immediately. And yeah, so that's the bass part. And then to add on top of that, I play the harp then. Just played on top of that actually, and then yeah. So,
And you did this by ear? Like, did you know the key of the track, or was it more like you were just playing
well,
around?
and I knew the key of the
Yeah.
track, but I wasn't quite sure what notes he was playing, so I just fiddled around a little bit, see what notes would fit, and then um, yeah, I played around with that actually, and then tried to layer on with that, and then add some variations here and there. That's it actually, yeah. And then yeah, and then some little more details with the. This was a sample that I found, which I also chopped up, I believe. Yeah, which I also chopped up. Sidechained it, added some delays, as you can hear. This is the fat filter timeless delay, which is quite a basic delay actually, but it does the job for now. And then again, some equalization, and another, yeah, just all like small parts to give it some extra details to the whole song actually. And this is then what you get all together. Yeah. So that's how I made it.
I have a lot of questions.
Okay. Let me grab my water first. Yeah.
Uh,
Thirsty.
yeah, take some water. I have a lot of questions,
Okay.
but maybe it's time to get some questions from the audience. Are there any questions?
Yes. Please.
Wait,
Uh,
you get a mic here. Yes.
I would like to know how many hours go in creating a song like this.
it depends actually. If I remember correctly, this song was made. Um, it took about a week, I think, because I actually had the groove things was already going on, but it was the bass part that was a little bit difficult because of like the chopping and stuff. So that took a little bit more time, and also with the harp, it took an extra day for that because I'm mostly at home, and then I have to act out as an engineer, and then record the harp, and then try to mix it. That takes a lot of time as well. So I think all in all, it took about a week, and then the final part was just like the mix down. Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah.
Did you did you take the low? Because I heard the bass, and basically it starts from kind of the mid range. You
Yeah.
would say, because normally when I play bass or when I hear a bass, it's like whoa, all the low
Oh no,
end,
yeah,
and you chop off all of the low end. So
I knew this question
so you
was coming.
yeah, that's why.
No, no.
So you did it. Basically, you did that on purpose. Wasn't because I've been when I produce. Sometimes I had this problem too. That was like, okay, that's like the melodic part in the low mid frequency, and then eventually I took the decision of just chopping off all the low end to make it sound proper, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do it immediately, or were you still effing around? Excuse me, my
No.
English. Effing around with the low end.
Well, here's the thing: the bass itself. Let me.
Yeah, can we hear it without the?
Yeah, let me hear it
the
right now.
felt tone?
Oh, sorry. The bass itself doesn't have like a much many.
Okay,
low
so
ends.
it's the part in the soul that he was actually playing on the higher string.
Exactly, and that was a little bit easier for me as well.
Okay,
to be
okay,
honest.
okay.
Yeah. So everything else what I added was just sidechain, a little bit more details to it. That's it. Yeah, and that's what I mostly do with mixing is like I'm mostly cleaning up things. That's
True,
yeah.
true.
That's all the only part.
And another question, it's like a personal question. When you
Uh-oh.
started, hey, my homie, when you started DJing at the community, did you play hip hop and stuff like that, or were you playing other
Oh,
types?
so-
Because yeah, what kind of music were you DJing? 'Cause
At the time, I was, because I was still learning, so I played like mostly house stuff, but like, you know, like the Latin house, which was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
popular back then.
yeah, Latin village stuff.
Exactly, that was most of the things I was playing back then. Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that was the only
Okay, okay.
question.
No more questions? Okay.
Cool.
I got a few questions.
Okay.
You said something about the details that you were
yeah.
taking a lot of time in making, of course, the percussion and the melody, but also like making it a whole with some little details. What is for you like the balance between finishing the track and looking and making sure the details are also there? Because like when you said you were making a track, you're finishing a track in a week. I also make music, and after 3 years, I still haven't finished one track almost. So how do you manage that time balance?
The time is. But what do you mean like when you know when something is finished or?
Yeah, when you know when something is finished and when you know not to fiddle around with an
Oh,
aspect
right.
of a song.
It's a feeling, I think. It's at a certain point. It's also like, okay, it's like I have this thing going on. Did I tell my story? And if I've told everything that I wanted to tell, then it's pretty much finished for me actually. Yeah, and it's also something that comes with experience because like now it takes maybe like a week or less to finish a song, but when I started out, it almost took a year to finish something at least, like, you know. So it's also experience, and it's at a certain point you just know like, like I'm done here. Yeah.
It's just when it's good, when it feels good, it's
Yeah,
good.
you know, and just I also like transfer like, or when I export the song, I also export it to my phone, and I can figure like, does it sound good on my phone, or does it like on a different sound system? And if it sounds good, then it's like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Okay, cool, dope. Thank you.
thank you.
So I think we're finished for this track. If I'm correctly, you got another track
I
with
got
you.
another one. Yeah, this one is unreleased. It's the most recent song I made, and I think I'm gonna release this early January. I hope. And yeah, so this is the first, and it's called At This Point. Let's see. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, yeah.
Give it up, give it up.
Thank you, thank you. Let's see. So I um, I like to fiddle around always a little bit, and then I came with this. So I had this groove going on, and I was like, okay, I can definitely work with this. And also, this is another collaboration that I did. This time with a bass player, as you can hear, and a pianist. Let's see. So they play these parts for me. And to be honest, I'm not sure what their names are. I That's a new thing of me. I find people on the internet and then they use aliases, and then I pay them off, and then it's all good. So they play this for me, and then so I had this groove going on. One second. Then I layered the keys with the synth sounds as well. So basically the same notes. And then on top of that, I play my harp. So this song is actually more minimalistic in like regarding production-wise, but still feels as if you're like it's giving the maximum out of it. So I'll run by every track right now, so you can see what I did. So for example, I started with the kicks, and this time I used like little dusty kick sounds, which I there you go. And it's a real simple pattern actually, with here and there some volume differences, and then I went on to the hi-hats. So you will find a lot of the same percussions in my productions, because these are all things I have at home. So it's easier for me to just grab a mic and a percussion and just record that. So it's the ching ring again, some cymbals, which is actually still the hi-hats, but I played it differently. And then another hi-hats part, and just some more sloppy hi-hats playing actually. And I just made everything into one group, equalized that a little bit, actually not much. Didn't add too much to it. A little bit of panning here and there, which is also great for like the stereo output of a song. And let's see. There's a little tom sound going on right here. Let's see. So also a lot of going on with the multiband dynamics. Oh, yeah, I see. I had to remember like, oh, why did I do this again? But it's like, yeah, now I remember this. Okay, so this is quite a thing as well. I was playing around with this, and I couldn't get the clap to sound the way I liked it. So this is like, so without the compression and the multibands, and I just couldn't get it to the right levels of it. So I figured out like, okay, what if I just play around with the compression and dynamics and see what comes out with it. And now it comes to something like, okay, this is more of the sound that I want. So it's very so the combination of hi-hats and claps is really simple actually, and it's just like matters of adding the kicks. So it starts rolling a little bit in the bass. And I also mentioned, of course, that I sidechained every channel. Oh, like I place sidechain on every channel. And if I would take the kicks out, for example, this is how it would sound like. See, it sounds more static. So that's the difference sidechain can make, because it will start listening to one certain signal, which is in this case is the kicks. So one more time. So you can hear it definitely in the hi-hats how that more like comes up to it, and then when I add the kicks back, it suppresses again. And then let's see. Oh wait, before I forget, let's the intro. I want to talk about the intro as well. Yes, these things right here. So I added symbols. These symbols were played live from a different session that I also used. And I wanted to create a certain ambience as an intro, and then added some extra effects, which I recorded with the Dave Smith synthesizer, and then to give it, give it that same extra texture and details to it before the track starts, so you get a little bit of vibe. And then I add keys to it. And then track starts. Let's see, and then I had the groove going on like this, and I figured this is actually quite a good bass for like a basis for to play my harp actually on top of it, and just treated my harp as if it was like a vocal, then without having a chorus or something. So it would sound a little bit like this without the harp. And over the years, I've become a little bit better recording the harp, because the harp can be quite a difficult instrument to record, because the frequencies of a harp goes like all over the place, and to make sure that you capture the right sound that you want, because you must always figure like I'm working with a synthesizer, working with like drum samples, and then trying to add like an acoustic instrument into the mix can be quite tough, especially if you record in a quite open room with a lot of reverb. So so it was a lot of trial and error, like during the years, and then I finally found a setup that works for my living room with the right mics, and I use this. If I remember correctly, I use only 3 microphones for this session, and it sounded exactly how I wanted it to sound, because it balanced out with the keys as well. Because it sounded as if I used just a direct input instead of like taking my living room as well. So this is the cleanest sound I've ever recorded, by the way. So this is what I wanted to mention as well. If you just take the harp and you add the synths as well, you get these dreamy effects, which adds a lot of details to the rest of the composition. And then, so I had everything going on like this. And then it was just a matter of, adding some variations here and there. So for example, you can see right here, there's like a little break. see, before we begin to the breakdown, actually. And then I recorded a new part for the harp. So that was that, and luckily with the intro, it all came out quite well because the when I stop playing the harp, then the bass and the keys are coming quite nicely actually. And this was just an happy accident. It just I was fiddling around and then it came like this and like, oh, this is kind of nice. I'm gonna keep it like this as an outro. And the last thing I want to talk about is the vocal shots. Let's see. Yeah. Which sounds like this. So what I did was I had an a cappella, and if you know the sample, then that's good. And so I had the sample. I chopped it up just the same way I just did with the presets I made. I re-recorded it, made it slower, pitched it down to 7 semitones, and then just add a sloppy delay, side chained it, and a little bit of equalizer. That's that. So all in all, it's quite basic together actually. So that's how I made the song like that. Thank you. Are there any questions or? Oh, you dropped the mic. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for sharing your process with
Thank you.
us. It's really dope. I was wondering, you were mentioning you find artists to work with online, and that's not the question that I have, but I was just like interested. But like, how do you reference what you would like them to play for you? So like, do you play something for them and they play it back to you in their way, or do you just like make a melody? I don't know. Like, how do you do that?
Well, sometimes, or actually, usually, I want to have that person's not only playing style but also like their ideas. So I usually step back from what I want and just want to hear like what they could come up with. And and sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay too, you know. And but when it does work out, then you get like magic, like on this song. And then um, I don't usually give out too much specifics. I just want a certain um, vibe actually, and it's like, okay, I wanted to make sound like this, and I usually send a reference of a song that already exists, and then they come up with their own ideas.
Yeah, because this is what I was wondering. So you just like send in already your like drums and your harp
Yeah.
element, and then they send in what they think is right for the
Yeah,
track.
yeah,
And where do
exactly.
you find them?
Internet.
The internet. Okay.
No, but these are all session musicians you can find online. It's like there are a lot of services you can use. And
Mm.
yeah.
All right, thank
But
you.
I'll tell you after the show. Like,
Cool. Share your secrets.
yeah.
Anyone else?
You
I
again.
can really tell the when did you make this? When was it finished?
A few weeks ago actually.
Okay, and the song we heard before.
That was 2 years ago.
Okay, so I can clearly hear the difference and the process of development, the evolution of your mixing and production skills.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can really tell that because this is more transparent. And but still, I was wondering, like, do you always use? Because I see a lot of elements that come and go within your process,
Yeah.
like small, I would say textures that you add
Mhm.
to your. Is it something because I myself see myself doing more minimalistic production through the years? Is it something you can also relate to, or is it like something because some people just have a signature sound, like they layer a lot of things, like Mad Lib or someone, they always try to find layers to what they're doing.
I'm sorry.
I was wondering if you have like a process like you were because you said you always like to add texture,
Yeah.
and do you keep on doing this, or is this like your signature sound, or is it something
Oh,
that
right. Yeah, yeah, I definitely like doing this. Even when I'm making like ambient music, I also always add some extra textures with delays or like little laser sounds and or like sound effects. And I think it's important to have that in a song. Just little details that you might not notice, but they're actually there. I like that, like those little surprises. Yeah.
and and I think Frey was right. You don't like quantize.
No.
You don't quantize. Quantizing is just you like more the offbeat swinging kind
Yeah,
of stuff,
because
right?
I was always thinking like everything I'm doing in the laptop is like I'm trying to emulate a certain sound. Like for example, if I would ask a drummer to play something, you like sure he could play something tight, but it's never like on points to the grid. And I go with the same mindset. Like if I want drums or I make my own drums, I want to have something like that feels a little bit loose. So it feels like uh, so it sounds more bouncy, if you know what I mean. Yeah, yeah. Also, yeah,
So, Rani, on the note, you are a fan of Jay Dilla, right? And also a previous
Oh, yeah.
MPC user.
yeah.
Do you use the groove pool to bring more groove and swing to your beats?
In Ableton, you mean?
Yeah.
No, actually, I don't. No, I play. I can show you in a bit, but what I usually do is just I um, I set up a certain. I turn on a metronome. I start drumming to that, and then I loop it, and then just like small things, with the mouse, and then that's that actually. Yeah,
The small things with the mouse, right?
yeah.
And Rani, final question.
Yeah.
The mastering process, do you also do it yourself or?
I do the mix down, but mastering is like that. I leave that to somebody else because I'm already going through the process of like creating it and mixing it. Then like I rather send it over to somebody else who has like a clean ear who can mix it from there actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming back to the mix, of course, geeks. Where do you reference your music? Do you reference your music on several headphones, on speakers? Because you were saying you listen to your tracks on your phone.
Yeah.
Obviously, of course.
So yeah, also on my headphones, my own speakers at home. But I think the most important reference is my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the most.
Is that like also the thing that cuts through, makes you decide to okay, it's ready for the master? It's like okay, when it's good on my phone or anything, is that the point that you decide like okay, I can send it off to for someone else to master it?
Usually, when I play something on my phone and I hear something that's too loud, then I just know like okay, it's not ready. because if a certain sound is really loud and it's annoying. So I get back to Ableton and mix that certain sound again, and then listen to it again. Yeah. Yeah.
You're a very creative person, um, but how do you cope with having a writer's block?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had a writer's block last year. Barely made any music. Up to a point where it actually became frustrating. Um, and the way how I dealt with that was just making like, first of all, it's like stepping away from the computer once in a while. Just that's the best part. Like do something else, play video games or whatever. Like do something else, and then slowly come back to it, but more like do small things. Just open Ableton or whatever program you're using, like program a loop, play with it, and close it down. Then leave it there for like for how long the block's taking, and then next week you do the same thing. So when you can get back to the like, or when you're feeling creative again, you have all these loops stacked up, which now you have like the final say over it. It's like, okay, now I can finish these loops. Like I'm not sure what they are, but I think I have something here. So that's how I usually do with it. But actually, the most important part of it is like step away from it. Yeah.
Awesome. And when you like get past the writer's block, how do you feel after it when you start making music?
I feel like the best producer. Like after that, that was like, because it's so frustrating when you're like you want to make music, but it's like not coming, and then it's like then like you feel real shitty. It's like, damn, I'm the worst. It's like, damn,
Was
fuck.
that one? Was that maybe also one of the reasons? Because I also play instruments, and I saw that when I got kind of bored with producing the loop and the arrangement and
Mhm.
everything, I would just jam on an instrument or something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
maybe DJ and do a set or something, because you need to get away from the process of putting the pressure on yourself of
Yeah,
making
exactly. Yeah,
something, viable. I need to produce something. I got this shit has to
exactly.
be
That's that
great and stuff.
mindset as well, which I turn off because I noticed at a certain point I was like very eager for like, okay, I need to make this, I need to produce because um, I need to have a new EP out. It's like
Yeah.
I know new singles, and that was actually killing my creativity.
Yeah, because
Ironically,
the pressure becomes more important than the creative process. In a
exactly, and it
sense.
should always be fun.
Exactly.
It should always be like that. And over the years, I've dealt with that, and I've learned to to go on with that. Like, for example, as I mentioned, like, I am working on an EP for hopefully next year. Now, although it's not finished, but I'm not like gonna push myself to like finish it right now. It's
On
like,
on a certain deadline, you mean? On a certain date, or you mean
yeah,
just
on a
like?
certain date, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm right now, it's like I'm in a creative process, and I'm gonna take my time for it because I want to, make sure it's good. So, but this song which I just played will be coming out in January.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, Rani, so what's the thing you still want to master or learn in this process?
Good question. Because there's like so many aspects to it, like creating music, um, and not just like making music, but also like knowing how to record music. Because that was something also like when I started to learn recording music, it felt as if I need learned to produce again because everything was new. There were so many microphones, and I had no idea where to start. And but now I'm slowly coming to a point like, okay, this is that, and like, okay, and now I can work with these certain mics, um, And then I was just talking with this about somebody, and the next step was like I want to learn about pedals, guitar pedals. Like, okay, what can I use? And then from there on, I'm still doing my thing, music, making music, practicing, and I would just want to broaden my skill set actually, and also learn to um, or like do hopefully more soundtracks as well, because that's something I'm also working on, and that's a real fun thing to do. But that's like a new world for me, because making music with video, it's like there's so many things that just don't know yet, but it's like very interesting to me.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome. No more. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Rani.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I got a question myself, one last question before we move on. So I noticed that you were layering a lot of melodies. So it seemed like with the harp and the
Yeah.
piano and stuff. And as one of the audience members said, it sounds really creatively, sounds really musically, layered and deep. How do you manage to get everything sounding and fitting well together? Not by, I mean, not the sound engineering part, but more of the, yeah, in key even, yeah, the
Uh,
composition even, yeah. Is it all by ear, or do you know in what type of key you are playing, or just by feeling
hmm.
it?
To be honest, I don't think too much about that. I uh, I usually have like a melody part going on, so I already know like which key I'm in, and then after that it's like yeah, I don't really think about much about that. It's like playing all around. Exactly, it's jazz.
It's jazz, baby, it's
Yes,
jazz.
and look, no, I'm not classically trained or something, but it's just sometimes uh, it just feels right, and when it doesn't, you'll know. Yeah, that's the best.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
You got the answer, Sway. Okay. Well, thank you again. We're not done yet because we still have a beautiful harp sitting next to us. And
We do,
I
yes.
believe you had something prepared, or not even. You're just gonna do a,
I'm just gonna do from scratch. I'm not sure
yeah.
if you can see. So I'll just take you to a process on how I usually make my music, or how I usually start out, and yeah, just let's see what comes out. So I have a folder called recordings, and that's actually things I recorded at home, because sometimes I don't feel like re-recording the same instrument, especially if I'm playing the same groove over and over. So I just have a folder, and then I'm just good to go with that. Yeah. Just like that. So as you can see, I just started out with the chingering and just improvised from that actually. Um, and that's what I mentioned before. It's like having your own kit, you know, so you can work really fast, and then just do something. We all really like to have your ideas drawn out quickly. The only downfall is like you have to make sure that you don't repeat yourself. But that's just something in process. Um, yeah. When I record the harp, then I have to break everything down, make sure it doesn't feedback, and then record the parts that I want. Now this is like a real fast and simple chord progression actually, but it was more like to show how it all works and how I work around. Yeah, so that's how I do it. Okay. Um, I'm just do questions like or maybe somebody has a question or
Do you always use harp on your beats?
no, not always.
This is Sonia. So you mentioned that you make your own kit. Like, how many? Like, do you have like multiple drum kits, or do you always use the same one? Because you said like it's important to not like repeat yourself, but
Yeah.
it seems kind of hard if it's like a limited.
No, like
Um,
I like this. What you see here, these are my favorite kits, but I have more than these
yeah.
actually. So what I do, I just grab some random things which I think like, oh, this sounds good, and then I sample this, and then I like you can see, like it doesn't always have to be like the traditional drums. I also sample like kung fu movies, cartoon shows.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's why I try to use everything I can.
Yeah, but it still seems quite like limited, right? Like it's how many? 7, 8.
Oh, this is the ones like these are my favorites
Uh-huh.
because they highlighted with a certain color.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
see.
I have more instruments than these.
Yeah, and then like you're saying, it's important not to repeat yourself. So how do you make sure you don't like overuse your favorites?
Just challenging myself. Like, okay, like, for example, like, okay, I've used these drums for the last 3 songs. Time to switch it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
Move on.
would you say is like your signature? Yeah, maybe the harp, I guess, the signature sound right now.
I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not even sure. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I couldn't tell what my signature sound is.
I feel like you can really hear if it's like a Rani produced track. Like if I hear
Yeah, I hope
something
so.
and I know it's made by you, it's like, yeah, that must be
Yeah.
Rani. I don't know who else made this.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
On the chat. Oh,
Yeah,
forgot
I'm
about
going to just read them up.
Okay.
First question. What's your favorite track you made and what was the inspiration?
favorite track. That's a good question. The favorite track I made.
Maybe also a favorite edit that you know?
Wait, no, I want to come back to this one. Like favorite track I made. Sheesh. That's a good question. No, no, no. Wait. Let
To
me
choose from.
let me get back to that because I couldn't tell because here's the thing. You know when you make something and then you release it and you're like really proud of it, and then time goes by and then you listen back to it like okay, this still sounds good, and then you release another song and that's your new favorite. Um, but you know what? I'm gonna say the Purple Ghost Dance. Yeah, this song is almost 10 years old now. And what was the inspiration behind, right? What's the
Yeah,
question?
that was also like the question. What was the inspiration for the track?
What was the inspiration?
Well, it's 10
Oh,
years ago.
yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. Adventure Time, the cartoon show, Adventure Time,
Okay.
because the whole EP was in that theme of Adventure Time, and the Purple Ghost Dance was actually a sample from here. This is where those samples are coming from, and I used one of those samples because the same character is saying at a certain point Ghost Dance, and I looped it, and that's why I called it the Purple Ghost Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a sample. But why I liked it is because it felt like it was in between of, or it was at a certain cross point where I just learned just enough on how to produce, but still not good enough to know what I was doing. So the Purple Ghost Dance is a perfect balance of that because if I look back at that track, it's like there's a lot of going on, a lot of weird noises, and it doesn't make any sense, but it came out just how I wanted. Yeah.
We were talking earlier about one of your inspirations, Kyle Hall.
Yeah.
And you were saying that he made this track when he was 17 years old, and when you loaded into Ableton, for you it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And you talked about it. Was it something like that? Like the track it's finished, it sounds good, it is what it is, but it's like the feeling of finishing the track is the most important.
Yeah. Because I knew like a thing about mixing and stuff, but I had no idea about like compositioning, that kind of stuff. And I finished it, and I look back at it. It was like this is like everything had its own melody, but it was like everything was floating around of it. Um, but it still came together, and like if I would make a track like that today, I couldn't pull it off because it was something that happened in that moment, and that's um, yeah, I couldn't do it again. Yeah, so that's a good question.
And the track, your favorite, that one got released, right? On which label got released? The
Yeah, you mean Purple Ghost Dance?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it got released on Meta Fury, which is a sub-label from RNS.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Got another question from the chat, and you just mentioned it. You were like now investigating the guitar pedals, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that something you are going to use for the harp then?
Yeah, that was the main focus. Yeah,
Okay.
and just like with microphones, it's trial and error, see what fits and what not. Um, yeah, just got explore a little bit with that. So that's coming.
And do you already have something like you want to buy something that's like, yeah, you
Well, not like of a certain brand, but I do know I want to try the wall bar pedal. See how that sounds. Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Well, I think that's the answer on the question.
Perfect.
Any more questions in the audience? No?
No more questions? Okay. Yeah, then I think it's a wrap.
Yes. Ooh.
Yeah. So, what are your plans? Do you have any future releases coming up?
So yeah, the first will be the single, and then a EP after that, and I'm also working on a soundtrack right now for a short film that is called Zwarte Mannen Huilen Niet. And it's quite a serious film by an director from Amsterdam. His name is Ivani Geelts. And yeah, I'm working on that right now. Um, let's see what else. I think that's the things I'm focusing right now, actually. Yeah, which are on my mind right now. Yeah.
And if I believe correctly, you have some gigs coming up also?
Yeah, I'm performing this Saturday at Ohm Festival as a DJ, by the way. In Ohm Festival from 1 to 3 o'clock, and then later in the evening in Amsterdam at Skate Cafe with United Identities and Carista.
Come true, I would say.
Definitely, man.
Come
Yeah,
true, come true.
definitely. There's a guest list. Yeah.
Operator Radio at the guest list.
Yeah, yeah.
Dope. Yeah. Again, thank you so much, Rani, for doing this, showing us
No
your
problem.
process, showing us your creativity and musicality. It was a joy to watch. Put your hands together for Rani, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
This was Footprints by Operator Radio. Thank you for joining us. You know the deal. Like, share, and all that stuff. And see you at the next one. Ciao.